All right, welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to be talking about Tre'Davious White, your new Rams cornerback. Before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan. And let's dive into this because Tre'Davious White is a very intriguing option here for the Rams. They did decide to go this direction. We talked about it a lot. He met with the Rams, so we did a live stream about that. We were on top of it when he was cut. We talked about all those bills, whether or not they'd make, any sort of, sense for the Rams to add. So, I mean, really just thinking about this one, it's a little bittersweet. I like Tre'Davious White. I think he fits the Rams well, as far as scheme fit and everything. But the fact of the matter is that by adding Tre'Davious White, I don't see a pathway for Ahkello Witherspoon to be a Ram this year. And that's really upsetting. I thought he played his heart out. I thought he, end of the day, I thought he was just a really good fit for the Rams. You talk about that size, the speed combination, everything. Playing at $1 million a year, it just sucks. I mean, not just because, I'm friends with him, friends with, his father and, fan of his, but it sucks because this is somebody that played all 17 games coming off of a year in which he had to replace Jalen Ramsey. Those were massive shoes to fill. So that is disappointing. I mean, I'm not going to say, never say never. He could be back. They could just, want a bevy of corners. But the fact of the matter is this. The Rams drafted a 4th-round cornerback in Kobe Durant, excuse me. They drafted a 6th-round cornerback in Darion Kendrick, who just jumped right into the starting lineup. They drafted another 6th-round cornerback in Trey Tomlinson. They just signed Tre'Davious White. They signed Darius Williams early on in the free agency period. So where does that leave a guy like Ahkello Witherspoon? I don't know. And so that the thing is, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's probably not going to return. I think he'll have better options elsewhere. It's disappointing in that sense, especially because it looks like Tre'Davious White got 1 year, $8.5 million with up to $10 million max. Now, we don't know what the cap hit in 2024 is going to be. This is somebody that just turned 29. He has a torn ACL in 2021, comes off a torn Achilles in 2023. He really hasn't been the same since 2020. My thing is, I said that I would pass, unless you get White on a cheap deal. And it doesn't appear that this is a very cheap deal. I think there's a lot of risk involved. The age is somewhat intriguing, but there's a lot of risk. I think, it's worth mentioning, though, that White fits the scheme. I think he's a much better zone corner than he is a man corner. And while, schematically he would fit, I just basically going back to my original notes here, I just felt like it was all about really the money here. And this is a lot of money to give to a guy coming off a torn Achilles. It's almost kind of a slap in the face, in a sense, to a guy like Ahkello Witherspoon, who I thought played really well. Again, end of the year dealing with a groin, but you're talking about him playing all 17 games, playing at a high level, filling in for Jalen Ramsey, that athleticism on full display. Tre'Davious White hasn't really looked the same since the torn ACL. And now you factor in the torn Achilles, which we haven't seen him. That is a concern of mine. What I will say is that team physician, Dr. Neil Elitrosh for the Rams, who's worked on countless injuries. I mean, he was working with all sorts of players. Recently, Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. But he also worked with Tre'Davious White, helped him out with his rehab, did do his last Achilles surgery. So there's a connection there. There's definitely a connection there. There's definitely some trust there. Elitrosh, I would assume had a lot to do with this, being able to give the Rams the green light. He takes a visit with the Rams. The vibes were good, according to Jordan Rodriguez. So, look, I am not going to bash this move. I don't necessarily agree with going with him over Ahkello Witherspoon, just like I don't agree with going for Jimmy Garoppolo over Carson Wentz. However, while I disagree in that sense, I don't hate this move. And I think, obviously, if this is somebody that can kind of recapture what he used to be, he's only 29 years old. If he can do that, This could be a really, really good pickup for the Rams. My issue, again, remains that this is probably going to be instead of Ahkello Witherspoon, and I just don't see why they would do that. I think Ahkello playing next to Tre'Davious Williams could have been awesome. I think he would have been a great fit. This now you still have up in the air those injury concerns. We talk about the torn Achilles and how long it took Cam Akers to get going, and then he tears it again. You see J.K. Dobbins is just now being cleared. Torn Achilles injuries are never anything to just sleep on, right? Players don't typically come back from a torn Achilles and play at the same level, and he was already not the same following the ACL tear. So I think there's genuine concern there. And again, the number is wicked high. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's wicked high. But this is somebody who's been an all-pro before. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's played at a wicked high level. I just think at the end of the day, choosing not to go with Ahkello Witherspoon could really come back to haunt you. Familiarity with the defense, obviously, worked with guys like, Aubrey Pleasant. Wouldn't be surprised if he teams up with Raheem Morris in Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's bittersweet. I do like Tre'Davious White, the player. I hope he stays healthy, but you have to understand there's definitely a lot of risk involved with this signing. And with that said, moving on to the next thing here, what are we talking about? What does this look like? Well, the Rams cornerbacks appear to be done because they do trust Darion Kendrick to start. They trust Kobe Durant. Tre'Davious White, clearly they trust to start because they wouldn't pay him all that money. Darius Williams. They have 4 guys they trust to start. Tomlinson in camp is, one-on-one with, Devontae Adams last year. So we'll see if he takes that next step. But I see them adding, maybe round 5 corner, but I think this kind of ends any chance of them going after a corner early on in the draft. And I didn't really think that was what was going to happen. I thought, my last mock draft having to go after Mikey Sainristil from the Michigan Wolverines, my thought process there was somebody that fits really well schematically, could make a lot of sense, and would be there probably at pick 52. Now, with the Rams signing Tre'Davious White, I think they're going to move on from the cornerback position. Maybe Ahkello Witherspoon gets added down the road. I don't know, though. I think this is a mistake to move on from him, though. I will say that. With that said, I think, when you're looking at it, Rams, kind of similar to the Stetson Bennett situation, similar to Jimmy Garoppolo situation, going out, getting quarterbacks, bringing back Stetson Bennett, allowing him to compete. And now you look at bringing in Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams, it keeps teams on their toes. When the Rams are on the board at pick 19, whether they stay there or not, the point is now teams don't know for sure they need a corner. They're going to go after a corner. You can't plan your draft around that. So end of the day, I think it makes the Rams better in that sense. I just would have gone with Ahkello. With that said, though, Rams defense starting to come together a little bit. There's still a concern at edge. There's still a concern. Is there another interior defensive lineman they'll go after? Again, my guess is going to be Carl Lawson ends up a Ram. I just kind of have this feeling where they're going to go after these veteran guys. I think Tre'Davious White was the start of it. Go out, you get Carl Lawson, another guy who dealt with some injuries, then really lost playing time last year just because of what was around him with the Jets. Don't be surprised if they go out, they get Carl Lawson, they put him in a rotation with Hoyt. They let guys like Hampton and O'Shawn Mathis and obviously Byron Young, let those guys work. But I don't get the sense that they're going to go out and get Clowney. Although I know a lot of you want that. I don't get the sense that they're going to go out and spend a high pick now on a corner. So those are my thoughts on White. I think if White goes back to his initial form, the guy, first off, is going to get paid in the offseason. If he goes back to where he was, this is a huge signing, but this is a lot of risk, to be fair. For a 1-year deal, this is a lot of risk, and the reason there's a lot of risk is because they're inheriting his injury history. They're giving him money that's not cheap, and they're letting a guy that they know works in this defense essentially walk. in the offseason. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Tre'Davious White is a heck of a player. He's an intelligent guy, and he's considered like a locker room type of guy, very well liked. But this could come back to backfire. I'm not saying it will, but don't be surprised if it does. Anytime you sign a guy off of a torn Achilles and let a fully healthy guy who played 17 games, 18 starts actually, in your defense go, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm Jake Ellenbogen. You guys can follow, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, folks. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.